Chapter 6.7, today we'll talk about percent of change. Percent of change. Okay, so to find the percent change, we're going to make a fraction taking the difference of the two numbers divided by the original number. The difference divided by the original number. So we're going to subtract two numbers divided by the original number. Okay, now once we have this fraction, that's not the answer. Remember, we want to find the percent. So when you have a fraction, you just simply divide it, and then after you divide it, you can make it into a percent. Move the decimal over to make it a percent. So we're going to take a fraction, this fraction here, divide it, and then find the percent. Remember, we're trying to find the percent change. Okay, we're going to do 5 examples. Our first one is from 4 to 6. The number changes from 4 to 6, and we want to find out what the percent change is from 4 to 6. Is that a 10% change, a 20%, 100%? How much change is it from 4 to 6? So we're going to take the difference over the original. Well, first of all, this is your original number. Okay, so that goes down there. That's the number you start with. Now we need to subtract 4 and 6. So basically we're going to take the big one minus the little one. Okay, and so 6 minus 4 over 4. Because that's the difference of the two numbers. 6 minus 4, that's 2. And 2 fourths is simply 1/2. Let's stop there. We're not done, but let's just stop there. Let's go on to the next problem. Now, if you look at my paper, we have 5 problems to do, and I'm kind of spreading it out evenly. By the way, going back to number 1, from 4 to 6, is that an increase or a decrease? Going from 4 to 6. Well, that's an increase. It's important to note that. Okay, here's number 2. From 18 to 12. From 18 to 12. All right, first of all, is that going to be an increase or a decrease? It's a decrease. Now we're going to set up our fraction. Remember, the starting number, the original number, goes in the bottom. And then we subtract the two numbers up on top, the bigger one minus the smaller one. So we have 18 minus 12. Well, 18 minus 12, that's 6. So we have 6 over 18. And I'll just keep reducing it. It makes it easier. 6 over 18, that's 6 goes in both of those, 1/3. We'll stop there. Let's go on to the next problem, number 3. Okay, here's number 3, from 180 to 108. We want to find out the percentage from 180 to 108. First of all, is that an increase or a decrease? Okay, we need to make this into a fraction. Remember, I don't know why I made it so big. The original number goes in the bottom. And then you need to subtract the 2 up on top. (180 minus 108). And if I subtract 180 minus 108, that's going to give me 72. And I think 9 will go into both of these. 9 goes into 72. 9 times 8, 72. And 9 goes into 180. Let's see. 9 goes into 18 twice. And just add a 0. Hey, wait a minute. This can be reduced also. So let's see. 4 will go into both of these. 4 goes in there twice. And 4 goes in there to 20 5 times. That's just a 5. Okay, so we reduce as much as possible. All right, let's do number 4. Number 4 is from 2 to 3.2. From 2 to 3.2. Well, if we go from 2 to 3.2, is that an increase or a decrease? Okay, so I set up my fraction. Remember, the original number goes to the bottom. And then I subtract the 2 on top. So I'm going to take the big one minus the little one. 3.2 minus 2. .2 minus 2. Well, let's see. 3 minus 2 is 1. So it must be 1.2. Okay, that's all we can do right now. So let's stop right there. Okay, number 5, from 90 to 75. So please write down if it's an increase or decrease. And then go ahead and see if you can figure out the fraction that's to be used. We should have down that it's a decrease. The bottom number is 90. You have 90 minus 75. That's 15. And then 5 will go into both of these. 5 goes into 15, 3. 5 goes into 90. Okay, well that's great. We took each one of these and we changed them into a fraction. Problem is, we don't want to know what the fraction is. We want to find percent change, the percent of change. All we found was the fraction. So what we do now, what we need to do is divide it to figure out the percentage. So looking at number 1, from 4 to 6, that was an increase. And we figured out that's a half. That's 1/2. Well, you know what? You can do that in your head. 1/2. What percentage is 1/2? That's 50%. Half is 50%. And if you're not too keen on fraction to percent, go ahead and divide. So 1 goes in the box. Decimal goes straight up. Add a 0. Three does not go into 1. 3 does go into 10 3 times. And that gives me 9. Gives you 1 left over. Add another 0. And it's the same thing again. Right? It just keeps repeating itself. So what's my answer? That's the decimal. So take the decimal to percent. That would be 33. You could say 33.3%, or just 33%. That's fine. And this was what? An increase or a decrease? It was a decrease. So, from 18 to 12, that's a 33.3% decrease. Number 3, from 180 to 108. So we made our fraction. We subtracted over the original number, 72 over 180. We get our fraction 2/5. So what percent is that? So top number goes in the box. Bring the decimal straight up. Some of you can do this in your head. 5 doesn't go into 2. Add a 0. 5 goes into 24 times. And we are done right there. Next, I need to move the decimal over 2 spaces. So that must mean I'm at to add a 0. So it's going to move over there. So the answer is, I'm running out of room, so I'll just put it right over here. It's 40%. 40%. And that's a 40% decrease. So from 180 to 108 is a 40% decrease. Count number 4, we went from 2 to 3.2. Obviously, that's an increase. So we made our fraction. We ended up with 1.2 over 2. So the top number goes in the box, 1.2. 2's on the outside. Bring the decimal straight up. And then we start to divide. 2 does not go into 1. 2 goes into 12 6 times. So now we move the decimal over. So we're done, because 6 times 2 is 12. There's nothing left over. So we move the decimal over 2 times to make it to percent. This is a decimal. Make it a percent. Move it over. You have to add a 0. So it is 60%. And that was an increase. So from 2 to 3.2 is a 60% increase. And our last one, we went from 90 to 75. That was a decrease. We subtracted on top, the original number on the bottom. We kept reducing until we get a simple fraction. And now we simply divide. So 1 goes in the box. There's the decimal. Bring it straight up. 6 is on the outside. Then I start dividing. 6 goes into 10 once. It gives me 4 left over. Add a 0. 6 goes into 40. 6 times 7 is 42, so it must be 6 times 6. That's 36. And that's going to give me a 4 again. So it looks like it's repeating itself. I do this again. 6 goes in there. Again, 6 times. Yada yada. So it keeps on repeating itself. I move the decimal over 2 spaces. And that's going to give me, oops, excuse me here. Make it a little larger for you. And that's going to give me, let's see, 16.6. And it keeps on going. You could round off to 16.7. And that, of course, is a decrease. That's percent. %16.6% decrease. So from 90 to 75 is a 16.6% decrease. So remember, percent change is the difference over the original. Take the fraction and then divide it to find the percentage.